author to author. Today, I am with the amazing team that has brought to you Absolute Will. Thank you, Joe, for taking time out to be on the podcast. And thank you, everyone, for being here. Joe, let's start with you. What is the idea behind this book? What is this book all about?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jasveer, and thanks for having all of us. This has truly been a dream come true, this collaboration. So when the concept first came to me for a book collaboration earlier this year, I really had this vision of bringing as many women as possible together from around the world with a global effort of inspiring others. And I wanted every story to have a health and willpower aspect to it. And I am just so thrilled that we got 21 amazing women from 7 countries around the world. Our authors are from Canada, the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, the United States, Australia, South Africa, and Bulgaria. And together we have linked arms and we're sharing our personal, vulnerable, insightful, true stories of willpower when facing emotional and mental health crises, physical injuries, and disease. So the book really has a broad spectrum of different health components to it, each story with the driving force of willpower behind how these women have been able to get through what they went through. Now, this book was also a fundraiser, which is super cool. All of the author entry fees and the sales through the first month of our launch are going towards my fiance Mike and I building a house for a family in Nicaragua who doesn't have a home of their own. And together we have collectively raised about $5,800 US.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing.
It really is. And this book is also self-published, not done through a traditional publishing house. So it makes, it's been a grassroots effort with all of us as the book launch team. So all 21 of us have been sharing about it, and it's really done remarkably well. We did not expect the rankings that we have hit with this book.
It's like the bestseller on Amazon in 9 categories, if I'm not wrong. And then number 1 in new releases in 31 categories across 4 countries. That's really amazing. It's really amazing. Were you expecting this kind of response?
No. Every author hopes for this, right? But realistically, I was anticipating a couple of bestseller spots, but to get 9 is just fantastic across, all of these countries, making us all international best-selling authors within a matter of weeks.
Wow, that's really amazing, And I firmly believe that team stands for together, everyone achieves more. And I think every author over here deserves a round of applause. Can we all clap, guys? That's a wonderful effort that you all have done. Now let's quickly talk about your experiences. Joe has been the force behind this. She got the troops together, and it's a wonderful book. I would recommend everybody who's going through or not going through any problems or looking for motivation, they must all read this book. Wonderful read. Let's quickly come to Kerry first up. Kerry, tell us your experience. How did you get in touch with Joe? How did you finally come up with the story? What's your experience being in terms of writing? Let's quickly talk about that.
Hi. Well, first of all, I'd love to say thank you to Joe, because these bestseller badges and ranks really have come from her tireless effort. I know we've all shared and we've all done a post and we've all told our friends and done some things like that, but she's been tirelessly creating the graphics, putting it out there, making sure that it's not just out there, but it continues to be out there. So thank you very much, Joe. We've been friends since we were 7 years old, and we were fortunate enough this past summer to reconnect in a deeper way. And I saw what she was doing, and she told me what she was doing, and she asked about my interest in it, but I just kind of watched and waited. And I could see that this is a project really from the heart, and a project that she truly believed in. And she was, as with any project, any launch, any new thing, there were some setbacks, and she would, steady herself and move forward. And I watched that, and that was very powerful for me to see that determination and her belief. And I knew that I wanted to, test the waters in my own writing. I've been blogging and podcasting and doing all the things. And so I wanted to test the waters with my writing, and she was someone that I completely trust and believe in. So it was an easy, and I've got plenty of stories. So I figured, well, here we go. I'm in. So it was a pretty easy decision when it came down to it.
Awesome. So how's the feeling now that you're a published author, you're a co-author of a book? How's the feeling?
It's fantastic because, like you've already pointed to, this is a collaboration. We're so much more powerful with all of us together. And in doing it together, you know that we've all been through stuff, and that by us giving our stories to other people in the world, it's going to help more people just have the determination to persevere through whatever they're experiencing. And so that feeling of knowing that, wow, it's not just getting out to the 5 people I've told, it's getting out to more people, and I know that it's going to help more people. So that feels freaking fantastic. I know that it's going to make a difference for a family in Nicaragua. And beyond that, from a personal development level, it feels like, okay, this was completely doable. It wasn't easy at certain points, but it was completely doable. And that next step of potentially publishing something different on my own is really tangible. It's something that is more realistic.
Yeah, the feeling that you are not just helping a certain section in the society, you are helping everybody across the world, because the book has a wider reach. Maybe not so much blogs, maybe not so much articles, but then a book is there forever. Once you publish it, it's there forever. And the feeling must be amazing that you are helping so many people. Thank you so much for your contribution. Let's quickly go to Rajshri. Rajshri, let's talk about your experience with Jo. How did you get in touch with her? And finally, let's talk about your background.
Okay, I was already in the process of writing a book, and I'd seen a colleague an acquaintance work on a co-author, and I was wanting something like that. And 6 months later, I saw Jo's post. And I just jumped on it, and she made it very, very easy. I wasn't sure whether I fit into the categories because some of the ones that I wanted had already been taken, but she was very supportive and said, you have to be in this book. And thank you, Jo, because she's made it very, very easy for each and every one of us to become published authors. She's taken a majority of the work, she's got the experience of publishing, and she's helped us in each of the steps as well, because some of us do want to write our own book, so she supported that as well. She's helped us edit the chapters. So I think this whole process has actually made me a better writer. So I've gone back to my book and started rejigging it, rewriting bits of it and putting more emotion into it, because I'm from a technical background, and I was making it more like a textbook instead of more emotional. I was trying to get it emotional, but it was proving difficult. So working on this project helped me put more emotion into it. And it's like you have to go back, bring all of that back to now and feel it again. So you have to relive it in order to write it authentically. So it's been a cathartic experience. It's been an amazing experience because it's done so phenomenally well. It's still a little bit surreal, but yeah, it's fantastic. And to be
You've
a part
already
of the
answered
project
my next question. Sorry, I'm sorry, please continue. No, you've already answered my next question. I was about to ask you, how has this book impacted your life? And you already say that it sort of improved your own writing process, which is wonderful. With each book, you learn something new. So the book that you're coming up, is that going to be your first solo book?
Yeah, Yep. It's around, yeah, it's going to be my first solo book, Holistic Healing, transforming through grief, loss and trauma. So it's going to cover lots of different topics, including Ayurveda, alkaline lifestyle, beliefs, emotions, meditation, yoga, emotions, emotional scale, and finally it's going to end on law of attraction and law of vibration to bring it all together.
Awesome. Look forward to that. Let's quickly go to Megan. Megan, tell us about your experiences and how has this book impacted your life?
Hi. Okay. So I met Jo through, I have a business with Young Living Essential Oils, and a colleague of mine, she's actually in one of my group coaching programs. She reached out and she's like, hey, I'm doing this book collab. She's like, you have to join, like your story would fit in here so perfectly. And honestly, I was like, no, that's okay. I don't want to do this. I pretty much just talk on Instagram, which sounds so weird in this day and age. Like that's what I do now. I was an occupational therapist and then I kind of transformed to a health and wellness business. But she reached out to me and she's like, you need to message Jo, like you need to send her your story. And I was so nervous to write this. So I sent her this email with my story and I was like, I don't even know if she's gonna say yes. And I'm pretty sure I wrote my entire chapter in an email. And I sent it to her and she's like, okay, yeah, this is exactly what we need. You need to jump in this. And then I was terrified because I was like, oh no, what have I done? I've committed to writing a chapter in a book. I've never wrote anything in my life. Like I have a master's of science. I don't know how to write. I never did well in those areas. So I'm like, I could do a research paper, sure, but I'm like, how do I write a chapter about myself? So I jumped in and decided to do it. And honestly, Jo, you made it so easy for a first-time writer. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know how to write a chapter. I had no idea what writing a book even entailed. So you made it so easy, and it honestly was, it's surreal for sure, because now looking, I'm like, I'm an international best-selling author, and I feel like I didn't even have to do that much work. Like my story happened to me. I didn't have to do anything. It's just, that's my life, and I've been sharing my story all over. And now I was able to put it in a book collab, and yeah, it's really cool.
That's the power of collaboration, I think. And Jo has come out with something really wonderful, pay for other people to collaborate and come up with really good stuff. We're going to talk more with Jo shortly. Let's quickly go to Doreen. Doreen, tell us about your experience. How's it been so far with Jo? How did you meet her? And how's life now that you're a published author?
Oh, well, thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much for having us here today. This is just an amazing process. Now, Jo and I are on a lupus support group, or a lupus Facebook site. And I haven't hit like on her post, but I like what she says. And, I don't always hit like, but there's a lot of stuff that resonates with her. And she just put out this, hey, I'm doing this book collaboration. And I went, interesting, maybe. And it took me a while to figure out, am I confident enough to do this? So I'm like Megan, I've never written anything. And now I'm a high school dropout, okay? And here I am, not very good in English. My favorite subject was music in school. So there we go. So here I am trying to write this chapter. But again, life happened to me. It was all Jo that did all the hard work. And she said, you can have 2,000 words. And I'm like, yeah, I can't come up with 2,000, like maybe 1,500. So I sent her my chapter and she goes, oh, you got 2,700 words there. I'm like, what? So you had to pare it down. I was so shocked at the amount of words that came out, and it was so freeing. It was so, it felt good to get it out. And so I just want to be an advocate for people with mental health and who also have an autoimmune disease, because mine goes hand in hand. I had brain involvement in my autoimmune disease, and I recovered from that. And I just want to be an advocate and show people that you can get past really bad diagnoses. And so, and the other thing that I wanted to mention was I did this because it's a fundraiser for a family. I'm not getting any proceeds. And this kind of aligns with my company, No Family Left Behind, and we're building a house for a family. So no family left behind is what I live by.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Jo and I have been talking at length about her struggles and how she's helping others. She's converted her book into actually a course. It's actually a course, right? And book later. But then we've been talking, and it's really wonderful. Few people struggle in their life, recover, and then they live their life as it is, right? But then there are people who use their struggles to motivate others. There are so many videos on TED, and Jo and I have been talking a lot. And it's amazing, you guys are using your struggle, your stories to motivate others. It's simply fantastic. Let's quickly go to Andy. Let's talk about your experiences with Jo, and how's the feeling now that you're a published author?
Hello, everyone. First of all, honestly, because this is our first meeting, all of us, not all of us, but most of us, and I'm already in love with all of you. All these women are amazing, and this reminds me and makes me think of every woman and the man all over the world has the power within, and no matter the gender, the nationality, and whatever you struggle, I see the fire in their eyes, and thank you for you inviting us. Actually, for me, my story, the book found me, Jo found me. It was really interesting because she, in our precision nutrition group, she asked for a woman who struggled with physical trauma. And honestly, if I have to be honest, even she doesn't know that, at first I thought that she needs a woman for her scientific study, or some study or something, I don't know, not a book. And I sent her 10 messages, 10 sentences for my story. It was a car accident. And then she told me, I'm doing a collaboration of 21 women all over the world about the book. And I was like, oh my God, And then she told me that she needs to review three another stories. And 6 hours later, she told me, you're in. I want you in the book. It was like, I started dancing, and I was so happy. And even now, when we are, because it's a book, we are bestseller. I cannot right now realize that this is true. It's a dream come true for me. I've always wanted, when I've been through the car accident and everything that I already that made me feel, and I wanted to share my story, but now 5 years later, so it was like the universe wanted me to share it because the book found me.
Yeah, I mean, it's truly amazing. Trust me. Being a published author is an amazing feeling. Every time I hold a copy of my own book, it's an amazing feeling. And I'm sure you're also going through those emotions, holding the physical copy of your book in your hand. That's amazing. I've done it.
Yeah.
Hey, awesome, Doreen, and this is the power of social media that I wanted to talk about. People criticize social media. People only look at the negative side of social media, that it influences you negatively. This is what I'm talking about. This is learning from this session, how social media and internet has connected you guys. This is the positivity that I look at, and this is the positivity that I want to spread across the world. If you can control it, and trust me, you can control your social media feed, just learn how to do it. The controls are there. Control your feed. You can get positivity, and you can spread positivity using social media. And Jo's an example. She's used social media to reach you guys, and we are connected on social media right now. So definitely there is a positive side to social media, and I think that needs to be advocated all across the world. Right, let's quickly go to Leah.
Hello.
Leah, let's talk about your experiences with Jo, your background, and how does it feel to be an author now?
Oh, my experience with Jo. Like a lot of people, I connected with her. I actually saw a post in an author group after I had been praying to be I've been looking kind of for a collaboration, but it's just not been coming together. I mean, when I say I've been looking for a long time. So when I came across her post, it was like an answered prayer. Everything just kind of came together perfectly. She was looking for people who had been through like a health crisis or an event, and that was me in every sense of the way. I had so many stories. So when I had emailed her and, I told her I had a couple options, and it was like that day, like that it was going to happen. And I couldn't believe it because it was like a dream come true. And like everybody else said, the process with Jo for a first time author like myself was just amazing. She made it so easy. For someone, even though I wanted to write, I was nervous like everybody else, because, even though you dream of doing something, you're not confident yet moving forward. So she made the process just so easy. I learned so much about the editing process. And she just gave me so much confidence moving forward with my dream. Like everybody else said, there's so many stories within me that I want to get out in the future. And because of this collaboration, like I know I can do it. Jo is going to be a forever friend. I know I'm going to have her that I can, have as a resource, and, I can always go to her. And I mean, we made a forever friendship out of this collaboration. This just wasn't a one-time deal. So to her, I consider her family now. Like, she made a dream come true. My story in this book has to do with the loss of my daughter. That's something I wanted to put onto paper for years now. So not only did I get a story out, I got such a special story out into the world. And because of Jo making that happen, like, I'll be forever grateful for her to that, because of that. So I could go on and on about what this experience has meant to me and how excited I am to have the book have such an impact, like have bestseller badges and new releases. I was excited just to be able to be published, but to have success like that, I mean, that's just a cherry on top. So,
yeah. Let's come to you. Let's talk about your experiences with Jo, and how's the feeling now that you're a published author?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me in the collaboration, Jo, and thank you for having us on this podcast, Jasveer. I met Jo through a friend of mine that is also in the collaboration. She's not with us today, but she had reached out to me and shared that Jo was doing this and thought it would be a good idea if I contacted Jo to see if my story would be a good fit. And I did, and Jo said yes. I wasn't sure if it was going to be at first, just because I knew that a primary concept of the book was about physical ailments, and that wasn't part of my story. And then now that the book has been published and I've met these beautiful women and have read some of their stories, there's a few of us in the book that have the connection of domestic violence as part of our journey. So it was very interesting and encouraging to learn that as well. So as far as how it has impacted me, I knew going into it that it was going to be emotional, because I knew I was going, as someone else mentioned previously, I was going to have to put myself back into certain situations in order to be able to write some more details about it. And it was definitely emotional. I would write a few sentences and then I would stop and I would go into the other room and I would sob for a while, and then I would come back and then I would write a few more sentences sobbing as I was writing it. So again, it was very cathartic, as you mentioned, and very difficult, but also perfect timing for when I needed to start to share this part of my journey.
Awesome, fantastic. And have you had the physical copy of the book in your?
Yes, but I keep giving it away. so
How's
I
the feeling? How's the feeling to hold the book, your own book, in your hand? How's the feeling?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I had always wanted to write more, and when this opportunity came, picking which part of the journey to address in a collaboration was also an interesting part of the journey, because all of our stories are more than a chapter, right? So when we had to decide what we were going to share in 1,200 to 2,000 words that would meet the purpose of the book, which was where our absolute will came from, it was just deciding which part of that to put out there into the world through this avenue, and then being able to know that with the collaboration concept, having so many different stories that you're a part of, just knowing it was going to touch so many different people, and then seeing it on, seeing my name on the cover in the collaboration and holding that book in my hand, it is definitely a surreal experience that is a stepping stone to so many our lives, the people that's reading it lives, and just so many opportunities that I believe are to come.
Fantastic, awesome. Now let's quickly go to Christina. Christina, where are you? Okay, Christina is not here. Let's quickly go to Deborah. Talk about your experiences with Joe, and how's the feeling now that you're a published author?
That part's still surreal. I was telling Joe the other day, and I keep on going, and they say I'm an author. I'm like, well, am I really? Well, technically I am, but it is. There's a lot of head nods right now with this going on, because for a lot of us who brand new to writing, publishing, it's very surreal. I did hold one book in my hand. I did give it to the woman who helped me come up with my title for my chapter, because it's a goal that I've always said was my goal, which is to run for president of the United States. And she's like, well, why don't you just name it that? And I'm like, oh, okay. And like Mimi, I wrote a chapter that I thought I had already grieved. And learned the hard way, I had not already grieved it. So like Mimi, I still get emotional when I think about my chapter, although I have read it once without crying at a Toastmasters event. But I did get choked a little bit, but I was able to finish it. But like Mimi, it was very emotional, especially writing about my kids, and also cathartic at the same time, because I'm always about the positive element, right? And Joe and I met on Clubhouse, and I host a ton of rooms on mindfulness and mindset and gratitude, which was in this morning in our 24-hour gratitude room. And so I knew I had to end on something positive, but it was so emotional that I had to put it down for like maybe 3 weeks before I could finish, and then ultimately found the silver lining in this latest disease. Again, emotional, because it's taken me, all my other diseases, because I have multiple ones, I found the silver lining much earlier. Bye, honey. Sorry, that's my husband taking my son now. And this was different because I realized two things. One, I hadn't finished grieving the life that I thought I was supposed to have. And then I started changing my verbiage while writing this book, a chapter, that it's no longer the life I thought I was going to have. It's what I thought I was supposed to have, not what I had planned for, right? Changing that verbiage. So now that I am now changed it to the verbiage that I am living the life I'm supposed to be living. And what happened so that I would have a voice for others that may not have a voice. And so now I no longer say it as the life I was supposed to have. It's the life I thought I was supposed to have. And that difference being the thought versus and accepting that wasn't supposed to be. And I am on my new path. It's just a little bit, like I say, bumpier, windier, divots than I expected. But, we're slowly working through it, and eventually we'll get there.
Right. If life gives you lemon, you better make lemonades. Yeah?
Yes.
I think that's a fantastic perspective about life. Kudos to you, and kudos to Joe for bringing you on the platform. Deborah, really motivating meeting you. Right. So now that we are through with everyone, now let's talk about from the point of view of publishing, from the point of view of writing. You've been given a target of about 1,000 to, let's say, 2,000 words, right? So how difficult was it to sort of shrink or include every aspect of your story and make it a complete story within that target? A lot of authors want to be part of anthologies. I'm going to come to Joe. How do you finally collaborate, make people collaborate? How do you motivate? What were the steps that she had taken? But I wanted to ask everybody, all the co-authors, how challenging was it, to put your story in that framework of 2,500 words or whatever words that Joe had asked you? This is an open mic. Anybody can unmute and talk about it.
Like Mimi, for me, sorry, this is like on my Clubhouse. This is Deborah speaking.
Yeah.
I had a lot of challenges with that. And I remember talking to Doug going, okay, everyone's telling me to write a book for my whole life and I haven't done it. And I'm going, 2,000 words, that's not really that much. How do I narrow that down? And then she explained to me, and Mimi, one sliver of a view of one point in time that was changeable. And that's what I focus on. Like I said, I have multiple rare diseases that have impacted my life, and more than one near-death experience that have impacted my life. But I narrowed it down to one story that I knew I could try to grab, because two things, right? We need a story and we need to have those grabbing in statements that we can have, which is not my normal thing of writing first person narrative, which Joe had to work with me on as well. But to know you had to grab them in and tell a story and show that we have a version of defining our own success and have gotten to that point. So for me, I zoomed in and zoned in on one particular thing, which was a diagnosis of my MG and myasthenia gravis, and how that impacted my family, and then how it helped me go down to this new road of public speaking and being an advocate. But for me, I'll definitely say that was hard. I have a political science and law background, so we don't know how to write a little bit. We only know how to write, over and over again, the same answer. But with that, I pass the mic.
Right. Yeah, please go on.
So for me, that was a difficult part, figuring out which bit I wanted to include. And originally, at first I just thought, okay, go with what type of message you're trying to get out there initially for this book as well. And it was about taking responsibility for your health and your life in general, and tapping into the power that you have within you. And it wasn't just about the health, but it's also about the emotional. So I talked about what started my healing journey, because I already had a few things before that, like asthma, and I had anemia a few times. But I started with when my actual healing journey began in terms of natural healing, when I came across yoga, meditation, and then went back into Ayurveda, which is my heritage as well. And then getting another disease, then learning about alkaline lifestyle and fixing that as well in a very short time scale, and also talking about emotional health in terms of losing somebody. So I put both of those stories in and made it sort of a little bit holistic as well. So it's like healing journey, emotional healing journey, and cutting it down to 2,000 words was very, very difficult. So I had some inspiration in terms of what I can take out, like the hypothyroidism. I had a big section in there, said, okay, I can just say I have it, but I don't need to put it in there. And then the last bit about my mum was the most difficult. And as Joe knows, it's been through many, many revisions as I worked through the whole emotional stuff as well, going from blame, guilt, going to acceptance and forgiveness, and coming out with it from my perspective. And that was inspired as well. I was on the metro and it just came to me, write it this way. So I got back home, wrote it that way, and it was just perfect. So, yeah.
I think the idea is to pick up what you think would be critical for you. What is the message that you want to give, and prioritize as per that. When you're limiting yourself to the words, right? Certain amount of words. Writing. Awesome. All right. Let's quickly talk to anybody else. Yeah, Megan, please.
Sure. Yeah, so like I said, I've never written anything before. And at first I was like, there's no way I can write 2,000 words. And then I started sharing my story. And so long story short, I went from being in a really happy marriage where I thought I was with the love of my life to turning out that this person struggled a lot with mental health, which turned into a drug addiction. And I found out when my daughter was 4 days old, turned into a whole life experience of learning about codependency and trauma, and then going through a divorce with a 8-month-old, to moving, 14 hours away from where I was from to run a business on my own instead of the career that I was in. Putting all of that into 2,000 words was very, very hard. I could have, after this, exactly, I could have, well, now I think that I probably could just write my own book with my whole story, because there's so many parts of it. Like even codependency, most people don't even know what that is or what that means. And most people are codependent and they don't even know. So trying to share my story without explaining people pleasing and fear of abandonment and codependency, and then the addiction and the sickness behind people with addictions, like there's such a stigma around drug and alcohol addiction. And that's something I'm a huge advocate for, and for changing that, because we have a failing system. Even in Canada, where we, are supposed to have the best health care and everything, it's a failing system. So I watched my ex-husband be admitted into the psychiatric unit of a hospital for wanting to kill himself, and them saying, well, you've been here twice already, so it's not going to help, so you can just go home. And I would be bawling, holding my 3-4-week-old baby, being like, you can't send him home. Like I can't have him back. Sorry. Like I can't have him at home. Like I don't want to have him here. Like I don't trust him. He has a plan. Like you need to help him. And then trying to put him in, treatment, but you can't go into treatment unless you've been sober for 5 days. You tell a drug addict that they have to be sober for 5 days to go into treatment. They're like, I can't. Like he couldn't go without using, and he would cry to me and be like, help me, and I didn't know what to do. So we spent a lot of days in Emerge and just sitting in the hospital and trying to take that whole story. And then, he's good now. Like, well, he still struggles, but we're 2.5 years into our journey now. And so we co-parent very well together. He's still like, I care about him deeply, but our marriage is long over. We've been divorced for 18 months now, but trying to put all of that into 2,000 words and explain everything, it was very hard. So I don't know. I think I'm just going to have to, I'm scared to write my own book, but I couldn't even get all of the things that I wanted to share in the chapter into it. So, but it was awesome. It was hard.
Truly remarkable what you all have achieved. Every story is complete when somebody reads a book. It's not an incomplete story. Even after it was limited to 2,000 words or 2,500 words, every story is complete. And that is what I have struggled, and this question is actually coming from me, not from anybody else, because I've always struggled limiting myself to a certain amount of words. I tend to get carried away with the and I need to add this, I need to add that. But from what I'm understanding over here is priority is the key. You need to find out those key things that, or the key message that give out, and build your story around that, and include only those critical elements in the story. I'm going to trust me, guys. I have never tried limiting myself, because I cannot. Somebody tells me to write a 2,000 word story, I would probably end up writing 20,000. That's me, right? That's me. So it's very hard for me to limit my emotions, control my emotions, and not keep adding. And I think Joe's done a wonderful job as the general of this amazing platoon. You've led them you've led by example. So let's talk about, and to talk about practical tips for people who are looking to collaborate and come up with stories. A lot of authors come up to me, I've got so many words and I don't know how to publish it. I want to collaborate with other authors. So what are your tips for, people who are authors who are looking to collaborate and come up with a collaborative book such as this?
I just kind of went with my instinct. I had been in one other collaboration earlier this year, but I had actually been planning this one prior to jumping into that one. And I didn't feel confident enough at that point in time to start this one, which is so funny looking back now, because I think we don't really gain the courage or gain really the motivation until we just start doing the things. So once I decided to start this collaboration, everything just sort of fell into place, and I really was able to just keep moving forward with it. But back then in early January, when I first started thinking about this collaboration, I thought, oh, I don't think I can do it. And imagine if I hadn't, right? So I love using this example of me now for other people, is that if you feel like you're too scared to do something, do it anyway. Because look at what just happened.
Yeah, truly. And if you are afraid to do it alone, do it with somebody else. Collaborate. I think that's the
exactly.
idea.
So once I started making the announcement to a few people and they were jumping on board right away, I suddenly felt like I had, wind under my sails and I could just start going with it. And then it was almost like my commitment to them was my driving force, because I thought, well, I can't now back out. I can't stop now. So I have to just keep going with it and making it better and better. And so, yeah, basically to other people who are considering a collaboration, it is just such a gift to be in a group of women who are all focused on doing the same thing. We all wanted to tell our vulnerable story. We wanted to be inspiring to other people. That was a really like a theme of the book as well, is that we really wanted our message to touch other people. We weren't just publishing it just to tell our story and not make an impact. We really wanted that impact. So for other people considering doing this, I would say, what is your message? What is your impact? What do you really want to achieve in the bigger picture, broader? What are you really going for? And that can just be continually the driving force behind the whole project.
Right. I think that's amazing how you've got so many distinct women from different parts of the world together and come up with this book. Absolute Will, guys. It's available on Amazon in paperback and book. Grab your copies now. Now let's quickly, I wanted to end this session with a few learnings for young and aspiring authors and people who want to tell their stories, but they don't know how to do that. So what's your message for the young and aspiring authors? Short and simple, you guys are all published authors. Let's talk about your message as short as possible. Let's go to Mimi first.
Well, I think just to even piggyback and follow up with what Joe said about just following the purpose and having that guide you. So, for example, when I was writing my chapter, I had to think about the audience that I would be speaking to. And really, there were 3 different audiences that I wanted to make sure that would at least hear my message. One was for people that don't believe hidden abuse when people talk about it. And that's why the voices of the abused are so silenced, because people don't want to hear about it because it's uncomfortable. So I wanted to shed some light to that audience. The second was I wanted to shed some light to individuals that are in the current abusive situation and they just don't understand what they're in. I tried to fix my marriage from spirituality, psychologically, all different avenues, but I didn't understand what I was dealing with until I started hearing some key words and looking those up and then learning what I was in and that it was never going to be fixable and that I had to leave. And then the third audience was the people that have already left but are still in a grieving, lost process, and they think that their life is over. And I left that marriage after 21 years, and I have done more in the past 5 years than I ever dreamed possible. So I think for writers, the key tip is to know who you want to speak to and allow that to be part of your storytelling as well.
Right, truly, it's never too late to change. I think that's the key message that I'm getting from this. It's never too late to decide to make a new beginning, no matter what the age is. Yeah, and truly amazing. All right, let's go to Annie. What's your message for young and aspiring authors?
Go for it. No matter how scary it sounds at first, just don't give up. And it's not only about being a published author, it's about everything in life, and as Joel already told us, the more it scares you, the better. Because when you go out of your zone of comfort, there is your growth. there you will be your better self and better self and better self, and after that the result is so sweet and amazing, and it will be that physical thing that you will have after you die. It's forever, as you already told to the people.
I mean, it's all about taking that first step, right? Once you've taken that first step, once you've crossed that barrier, nothing would be impossible. Truly, truly amazing. Rajshri, let's come to you. What's your message?
I would say just do it, because we all have a story, and there are people out there silently suffering, and you could be their solution, by sharing what you've been through. And in my case, there are a lot of people who have health issues, chronic health issues that they think aren't healable, because they've been told that. Well, I'm living proof, as many of the women in this collaboration, that you can heal yourself, you can get your life back. You just have to look at alternative solutions, and they are out there, and it's all about mind, body and spirituality, connecting to who you are and allowing yourself to heal. But also fundamentally, you've got to believe that. And also, I'd say do it afraid, do it consistently, and think about the people whose lives you're going to be touching and whose lives you're going to be completely changing and giving hope and inspiration to. But consistency is going to get you to your dream as well. And focus on your why, why you want to do this.
One thing I hate about the whole typecasting, about the whole axiom of life, is that as you grow, you need to mature, right? And with maturity, we sort of expect people not to ask questions because they seem stupid. That curiosity, that childlike curiosity, seems to be lost as we grow. And I think that's what keeps us going. If we have the curiosity to know more, to search for solutions, I think nothing is impossible. The solutions are out there, all we need to search it. I think when we talk about people losing will to live, or not having the will to do something new, they have lost that curiosity. They simply don't want to look for that solution. It's out there, I think. And internet, social media, you talk about Wikipedia or any other resources, it's amazing resources out there. You've got YouTube with people making self-help videos. You just need to pick up the right solution. It's out there. I fully agree with that.
It's like people say that in the age of knowledge or information, ignorance is a choice.
Exactly.
And you got to focus on solutions, because I'm solution oriented, coming from an IT background. It's always about solutions. What's the solution for this, that, and the other? So every time I got a diagnosis, I would never take the pills. I'd argue with my doctors. I'd go home and say, there's got to be an alternative to this. And I'd always turn to Ayurveda, yoga, meditation. How do I heal this? And I'd find a solution to the actual problem.
I think that's actually the situation out there. People are complacent. They've become complacent about their own situation. They've taken it for granted that, this is life. I can never change it. And I think that's part of the problem. The moment you feel that you can't change, you have no control over your own situation. That is the time you lose everything. That is the time you lose will. And I think, I like to have that childlike spark in me, that childlike curiosity to know more, to do more. How can I do this? I think that's what keeps me going. I don't know how much that would help others. All right, let's come to Megan.
Okay, so I just wanted to add to that. So do it scared. I love what you said about that, because we really have to. And then what you said about people feeling complacent, it's so much easier to sit where you're comfortable. Growth is hard. Healing is hard. Like therapy, trauma work, everything, it's exhausting, and it's mentally exhausting. I have cried so much through my therapy sessions, and I was someone who was like, I don't need therapy. Like, this is okay. Other people go through this. My story doesn't matter. My story is not a story. It's not a big enough thing. But once I was going through it, then I was like, wow, we all need to do this. And there's been days where I'm like, I don't want to grow anymore. I'm done learning my lessons. I'm ready. I'm just going to sit back. But of course, we don't want to do that, because then we get complacent and we sit in our lives and we're not truly happy. So I love the do it scared, and you can have the best, happiest life no matter what you go through you have to put the work in. So that's
Wow.
all I have.
Awesome. Right, Doreen, let's come to you. What's your message?
Okay, well, my message is, you know what, just do it, because it's freeing, it's empowering, and get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's the only way we grow is we got to feel, we've got to move forward, always moving forward, always learning something new. I always think of my grandmother. She says, always try to learn something new every day. And I strive by that. And like I said, I'm a high school dropout, and here I am writing a chapter. Like, wow. So you know what? If I can do it, geez, you guys can do it too. It's amazing. And get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I think they truly say that, try something which you think is difficult for once, and the feeling is going to be amazing when you finally do it. Try something that scares you. I think that's the bottom line message that I'm getting from you guys. I'm going to try something that I'm scared of. Right, Leah, let's come to you.
I would just say, because we've all agreed that people are comfortable being complacent and comfortable. And when you have a radical dream about doing something new and uncomfortable, like publishing a book or, doing anything new in life, I think it's important to surround yourself with people that are cheering you on. And even if that's not people in your immediate circle. So find people that are cheering you on. Like for me, that's my business coaching group. That's a Facebook group for me. That's not people like in my immediate circle. So find people that believe in your radical dreams of publishing or whatever it is that you want to do. So that's
awesome.
It.
I'm very bad with the names. I am reminded of a book called Be Your Own Coach. I think that's the name. I forgot the name. And that exactly talks about what you're saying. If you can't find anybody else cheering for you, cheer yourself.
Yeah. Just
reach out and tap yourself if you've done a good job and say good job, right? That's what the book was about. Be your own coach. I think I hope I'm getting the name correct of the book, but that's what it was about. You can't find somebody else, too bad. Be your own coach. Share yourself. That's what it is about, self-motivation. Right, Deborah, let's come to you.
Okay, I was trying to get to my buttons for unmuting. I have my nice little stream deck, but I was trying to get to it. Anyway, so a lot of what was said already of step out of your comfort zone, because we don't grow until we step out of our comfort zone. And even in my chapter where I talk about that redefining goal of success and redefining success for your own person, because too often we judge ourselves by society's success. And for many of us, that's just not realistic, right? So for me, I definitely believe in stepping out of your comfort zone. I definitely believe in making that goal just a little bit more challenging than what you would normally do, because it causes you to push yourself, but not to make an unrealistic goal. So for me, writing a whole book right now, trying to do nonprofit and my other endeavors, it's not happening, right? But writing one chapter, it was amazing, because I got to start getting my feet wet with more than just a couple articles for the Mighty, and realizing that one, I can do it, and two, the collaborative effort, that's what I wanted to say before, is it's a gift to a lot of authors like myself. And I guess I just finally used the word author. But it's a gift to a lot of us who are not ready to write a full book, or don't have the physical or mental or cognitive ability to write a whole book for whatever the situation may be. So these collaborative endeavors, I know it brought me out when I saw Joe's post, and I know we connected on Clubhouse and we connected on Instagram. It's like, oh wait, I got a story to tell, and oh no, how do I do that in 2,000 words? Okay, let me just choose one story. I went through like all over the place, but ultimately it's about stepping out of our comfort zone. It's about telling people that it's okay to do it, and it's okay to fail, right? It's okay, failure just is another lesson. And I like to tell it all the time to my Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts that I work with, is that, and the kids I do STEM education with, right? We fail, but that's part of the scientific method. That's part of our goal setting. It's part of our every endeavor. We can't have success without failure. I mean, my first version was not what it was intended, because I'm used to writing very technically and formally. So I had to get there a couple of times to get to the first person, but I did have support. I was surrounded by people who were in this group who believed in me, and my family and friends who believed in me too. So having that support, like was mentioned, stepping out of that comfort zone. And the other thing is, I think everybody should remember is that every one of us has a story to tell, and our story is going to be is going to resonate with somebody, right? And there are many times I'm surprised my stories resonate with the non-disabled community, but then I realize what I'm expressing is the definition of redefining yourself, redefining your goals, realizing your path might change, and that's okay. And that technically doesn't just apply to the disability community. It applies to people that are survivors from, domestic violence and redefining where they're going with their life, or women who have worked from home and now they have an empty nest and they have to redefine what success and how they see themselves, right? So I believe that we all have a message to share. And if we can also step it back, we can make it broader for so many people to be able to relate. And that was one of the things that I was trying to do, is relate. That silver lining isn't always easy to find. And as Joe and I were talking, I realized it's happened for one of my most successful years, but we're talking right by. I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, I did that too, And I was like, oh, actually, I thought this year wasn't that great until I wrote, the bio. I'm like, oh, well, actually, yeah, this is probably one of my better years. But the other message is that, especially for those that are homebound or bedridden or isolated, you can still write even from the bed. You can use voice recognition software if you can't type. If you're visually impaired, you can use voice recognition software and those readovers. I mean, there are a lot of different, or I know with voice recognition, a lot of people that are dyslexic use it, or have other learning disabilities, or are having type of spectrum disorders that make it harder to concentrate. There are tools that can help us, and there are methods that can help you for those that have ADHD, a nice big brain dump before writing. And, there are a lot of little tools that are there, that are talked about, that can help. But ultimately, I say find a group that you fit with, that your message fits with, and do it. And if you have a collaborative effort, even better, because you have less on you. Like here, for example, Joe was doing all the final editing. She was pulling it all together. She was giving all that feedback to us and coaching us while doing this. But we had a quarterback that was fully engaged and was with us every step of the way. I know she did this for all of us. So, big kudos to you, Joe. Round of applause. Oh my God.
Round of applause for Joe.
Oh, I'm doing round of applause for her. Okay. Yeah. That's my kid thing. We do rounds. But
thank you so much, Deborah. That's amazing. Thank you. And thank you for everyone sharing here today and sharing in your chapter as well, so vulnerably and honestly and openly. And I just want to piggyback too on what Leah and Deborah both talked about with the group support. We created a Facebook group for this collaboration, and I feel like that's helped us become what I feel now is like a little family. So just, we all would post in there and ask questions and say how we were feeling throughout the entire process of each of us writing our pieces. And I just want to say thank you to each of you for a life-changing experience for me as well. So kudos to all of us, and just big thanks for everything.
Truly amazing. And thank you so much, guys, for taking time out to be with me on the podcast and talking to me about the book. It was really a wonderful experience. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Guys, so this was the team of Absolute Will. I'll be back with another guest shortly. Till that time, take care and have a nice day.